All right, this is Paul Newman with the Cashflow Cafe Podcast. Today we have Mr. Brandon Willams on the show. Brandon, I'm excited to have you on the show. In 1 minute or less, tell us all about yourself.
All right. Well, first, thank you for having me. First of all, I better say my wife is Susan. We were middle school sweethearts, believe it or not, and so we've been together most of our lives. And so she's probably the reason I am alive. Together, we have 3 boys. And one's 23, one's 20, and one's 15. So each of them, as we talked about earlier, are very different. But, man, it's awesome. I think being a parent is the greatest, hardest thing you'll ever do. We started Connection Church back in 2008. Recently decided we didn't have enough to do, so we purchased a gym here in Statesboro. And, man, into baseball big time right now with my youngest.
Love it.
It's like you said a while ago, it's kind of faith, business, and sports right now. So that's our life.
Well, I think it's why you and I can get along, because I'm pretty much an open book. I would say those are my top 3.
Yeah.
Brandon, the rise of Connection Church has been incredible. I remember going into the Burger King behind the Burger King building. Right. I remember Chad Wiggins being so aggravating. Chad was like, have you gone to church? Are you coming to church? I'm like, Chad, leave me alone, dude. Like, leave me alone. And he would always work on me. And I think sometimes that's an important part of the disciples is to get after it, invite, and all right, Chad, I'm coming.
Right.
So finally I went, and the rest is history. We've been at Connection for a really long time, and I've raised my family in the church, and faith's been a big part of our family, and I've enjoyed just watching the growth. But can you go back to give a little backstory on the Connection's start and humble beginnings?
Yeah, man, it's crazy. Like the Bible talks about God doing exceedingly abundantly more than you could ever expect or imagine, and that's certainly been true with the church, because when we started out, we never saw this. We knew God could do big things, but we started out with praying through it. I came home one day, I'm like, Susan, I feel like God's putting on my heart to start a church. She's like, we really need to pray about that. So we prayed for like a month. Decided we were going to do it. Invited some folks over to the house. I think the first night we had 11 show up. And so we started in our living room. We lived out in the Middle Ground community at the time.
Yep.
Met a couple of times in the house. We started meeting in the pond house, the Hadajon pond house that her family had. And I remember, I'll never forget this, because people ask me if it's hard to preach in front of a bunch of people. The hardest thing was that first night that we had a worship service. We had 7 people show up.
That would be hard.
And 5 of them were family. So you're talking like mom, dad, father-in-law, mother-in-law, and then like one other person.
Right.
I can't do math, but 3 other people. And
That's
so,
right.
But it was so crazy, man, because I was like, I'm just going to preach like there's 500, you know? And so we just got after it, and in that little pond house, meeting on Monday nights at 6:30, we got up to maybe 35, 40 people. It starts getting crowded, so we just said, hey, if anybody knows of a building,
right,
like, let us know. And I mean, at this time, we're operating off of my laptop, a borrowed screen, and a borrowed projector. And our worship, I was running a playlist. That's what we worship to, and I was running a PowerPoint with the words, and so that's how we started. But some really powerful services. The building you referenced over here behind Burger King, we call it the Blue Building. That's affectionately known as the Blue Building, and it sounded so sketchy. We always joked around, like, when you invited somebody to church, you're like, hey, it's that little blue building behind Burger King. You kind of go around the corner. And it's right. It's like you're inviting them to a drug deal or something instead of church. But
just come.
Yeah, just come check it out. And so, man, we started in there and ended up having to knock down a wall and fill in a swimming pool that was in there. It used to be a physical therapy clinic, and it just grew until we were doing like 3 services in that building. Moved to Statesboro High School. At that time, I think it holds around 1,000 people. At that time, the biggest service I think we had was a little over 300. And we're like, this is going to feel really empty. But then, like, we ended up almost filling that thing up twice.
The Statesboro Hive was when I really feel like it just got bigger, quicker. But I remembered, and this is probably what forced you to grow and get the current space, because it was like how much time it took, all the people that had to set up and come early and take it down. That was a lot of work.
And people ask me, like, what's been the key to the growth? And one of the things that has been key is God's always surrounded us with good people.
For sure.
And we never saw that more than when we were in the high school. We were in the high school for 1 month shy of 4 years.
Yep.
So 3 years and 11 months.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, when I think back to that, it's hard to believe that people showed up at 5:30 in the morning and left at 1:30. Because we hauled in 3 huge trailer loads.
That's the work I'm talking about. That nobody, somebody like me, I mean, I'm not always as involved as I need to be. And I show up and enjoy the fruits of all the work that everybody put in.
And so many faithful people. And every week I remember, there was one trailer in particular that I usually help load back up. And I remember closing the doors on that trailer so many times and thinking, like, we made it another week. Like, God's been faithful through this whole thing. And looking back on that, it's just been incredible, because to have that much stuff to haul in every week and people showing up faithfully. But we saw incredible things happen there. We moved into the building we're in now.
Such a nice, inviting building, inviting space.
Yeah.
And it's just been, the way the flow of the whole church, and it's just been, it seems very dialed in and very good.
Well, I feel like God gave us a very clear vision from the beginning.
Yep.
And, that is so essential, of knowing who we were called to be and the things we were called to do, and really being able to say no to things that didn't fit within that vision. And I think that's helped us stay dialed in over the years.
The music is unbelievable, and you walk in there and it'll light you up.
Well, and again, what's incredible is, like, Chase, who is our worship leader, Sierra, who is our associate worship leader. Like, they're so gifted, and everybody on that stage is really gifted, but they're also, like, they're so humble.
You've had different people over the years, and we've tried different things, and there's been different looks and different feels, but it's consistently just raised up and just really, really dialed in.
And just super humble, good hearts, man. And that, I think, has been key for the whole thing, whether it was in the very beginning at the Pond House or whether it's in the building where we're at now. And, and we started planting other churches.
Talk about some of the planning of other churches, because it's been crazy to go in other cities sometimes. There's Connection Church, and it's that's pretty neat.
So in a span of, I think, 4 years, we started 5 other churches. This was back in the mid-teens.
Yep.
And so we started 5 churches. First one was in Vidalia, but we started out in Vidalia, Dublin, Millen. Statesboro, of course, was already going, and then we had Savannah, which actually ended up becoming Rincon. And so we started with those. They were more like campuses back then.
Right.
But as time went on, it just made more sense for them to be autonomous. And so we never did really the satellite preaching thing where they kind of just brought in me preaching. We always had a pastor who was preaching at those churches.
And I think that's the absolute, that seems to be the natural way.
And it was for us. And I certainly don't have anything against it.
Right.
But for us, it just felt right. And so we always had someone who was raised up to go and do this. And so now,
it's been neat to watch them. Not all of them. I don't know each one at each place, but I have gotten to know a lot of them that have been in Statesboro and blossomed, and now they're running their show, and it's really cool.
It is cool, and I think it's up to 10 now that have been started, and it's just cool. So
I'm sure you know numbers. You're a data guy and competitive like me. So how many people are attending from the Pond House, the humble beginnings of the Pond House, to how many people attend on a given Sunday? Do you know an average or close to the?
So, I would have to kind of add it all together.
Ballpark it?
I would say probably on a given Sunday with all of them, I would probably say between 4,000 and 5,000 total. Maybe
and
a little
you
more.
think back and you go back to the pond house of 7 people or whatever, and you're like, holy crap.
And the thing is, man, like, I did roofing for 10 years before I went into ministry. It wasn't like I was a rocket scientist.
Yeah,
you know
I
what
know.
I mean?
Well,
And
that's the
it's
call
like,
that you couldn't deny. You were in business, and you probably got tired of being on them hot roofs. And
that's what everybody's like. No wonder you went into ministry.
Yeah, right now on days like today, you're like, I don't want to be in this business anymore. God's like, come into the AC.
Yes, exactly. And so, definitely don't miss those days as far as being on the hot roof. But, so it's kind of like Jesus choosing the fisherman, right? And the tax collector, he took a roofer and did way more through me than what I would have ever thought, possible. But that's what God does. He takes ordinary things and does supernatural things with them.
I've seen so many cool things and from different people, and we've all got different walks as a Christian and different skill sets, and some people are called for so many different things. And I think that's what makes Connection Church so good, is that everybody's got different skill sets and strengths. And some people are called to be givers, which you need that. And some people are the people actually boots on the ground, and it just takes a village to get it all done.
It really does. I mean, like you said, it's definitely the body of Christ, right? It's every part doing its work.
Yep.
And without that, we would have never made it. So
talk about, Brandon, the pressures of somebody outside me looking in. You do see the weight of carrying. You got the weight of the church and delivering messages and how tired you must be on a Sunday afterwards. But also having to, a lot of people go to you, that's a lot and heavy. How have you managed that over the years?
Well, I didn't manage it very well early on, and it took a real toll on me. Have had, and I've been very open with this through my life, but just mental health struggles and all. And a lot of that stuff never existed for me until I got into ministry.
Right.
And just the pressure of it all. I owned and ran a roofing business, and there was definitely pressure in that and challenges, but there was just something different about ministry.
It's heavier, right?
You're dealing with eternal things, right?
Yes.
And
it's
also,
not business and dollars and cents. It's people's lives and
right, and
that's
marriages and their kids, and and so you get into it, and a lot of times I think people are very surprised that ministry is not what they thought it was going to be.
Right.
And it was challenging, man. But dealing with one of the hardest things for me, and I think any leader has to deal with this, and you have to learn how to deal with it, but was just criticism. From day one, took a lot of criticism.
When you're in a leadership role in business, in your community, whatever, you're going to get haters, you're going to get criticism, and that is hard. If do I have enough thick skin to take this, and and how you deflect and how you deal with it. And that was something that was probably not easy. Definitely. I've always admired the transparency that you presented throughout the years. Sure. I'll never forget the first couple sermons and different things that you would do, and just something as simple as, I was at El Sombrero last night, and I was like, well, I was at El Som last night. And then you get into it and different things, but it is, I have found you to be very relatable over the years and very transparent, and we're all sinners and flawed, and you said, look, I don't have this right.
No, don't put me on a pedestal, right?
I know, and one of the things I tell people this all the time, I remember you saying one time was, and I just really stuck with me, he's like, I can preach to all you guys, and I want you guys to get into heaven. But he's like, if my own family doesn't hit the mark, then I've failed. And that's heavy. And we gotta get, yes, you want your friends in, but you want your people in your household.
Well, that's your first priority, right? That God gives us as our family. And one of the things I made my mind up was I wasn't going to try to lead everybody in Statesboro to Christ at the expense of my own family.
Right.
And so, it's one of the decisions I made was I'm going to be at the ball games. I'm going to be at these things. And that means I have to say no to some other things.
As you should.
Some people don't like that.
That's right.
But you're going to sacrifice something, and I'm not going to sacrifice my wife and kids.
And it's a short moment of time. As you know, you're young.
I'm getting towards the end of it.
Yes, you're getting towards the end of it. And it's a little sad. You're like, stop, exactly. Slow this time down. But I try to not miss the things right now, too. I really want to be a present father, be active, and that's very important.
Yeah. It matters, man, when they look over and see you and they know you're there supporting them. And, I think that's just super important.
And you got to think of different generations, like my father tells me his dad was not at the games, man. Right. I mean, he tells a story. He played baseball almost the whole time. He's not there. Like one time he made like an all-star game, and he did so bad because his dad finally showed up, and he like didn't hit. And he was so nervous, and you're just like, it breaks your heart that's how it was. But parents we got to be there, and it's short, you know?
Yeah, agreed, man. And you have to, could you go a little bit further in your career or the church grow a little bit bigger? Maybe so, but at what cost? And I'm not going to pay that cost.
So where are you at? This is such a hot topic. We'll touch this. Travel ball, right? The hottest topic, and there's so, I've got pros and cons on it. Mine play it. Yeah. Of course, as you know, there's tournaments on Saturdays and Sundays, right? So we're missing ball games as a family, and there's a lot of negative to it as well. And I don't think we have it right. I don't think it's dialed in right now. I think there's some brokenness to the travel ball world.
And people are going to land all over the place on this. So my kid plays some on Sundays,
right?
Especially at his age, where
he's ultra competitive.
And we would not do what we do at his age if he did not have ability to play. Like if I watched him play and I'm like, there's no shot.
That's right.
We're not doing some of the stuff we do. But I want to give him every opportunity to fulfill the dreams that he has.
Right.
And here's the thing, too, is like if we're out of town for a game or something, we'll watch the service together.
Right.
Sometimes we might go to another church or something, depending. But the other thing I would say to people, too, is, and this is going to sting probably a little bit, and I'll probably get some flack for this, but if you're depending on Sunday morning
to get fed,
if you're depending on Sunday morning to raise your kids to love Jesus, then there's the problem.
There you go. Well, and it's not just showing up on Sunday; it's your daily.
It's a daily thing.
Prayer has been a big deal for me. Just really trying to hit that, and just my wife's been really big on prayer, and it works, man. It's big time.
Yeah, and plan A for discipling our kids is us, not the church.
That's right.
And so that's something that we understand, we get. And so, and
you don't, and yes, you want people, you do want your family in church on Sunday. There's Absolutely. No doubt. But I remember how I got involved when I was curious, and Chad kept pushing. I remember when we started putting out the pod. It was not a video podcast, or it was
just the audio.
The audio. Yeah. And I remember being so hungry, but we would go out of town all the time and whatever. And I was so hungry for the podcast. I was waiting for those to drop, and that was just got me on fire. Those podcasts.
Yeah. And so, there's a balance to everything. And so certainly if you wanted to, you could find an excuse to not go any Sunday.
Correct.
Right? And so there's a balance to everything. But I think the biggest thing is to ask the question of, are you incorporating Christ into every area of your life? Or are you just compartmentalizing him to Sunday morning?
Right.
We need community worship. We need community prayer. We need to hear the word preached. We need, all of that. But you also need small communities too, where you can gather with other people, other believers who can encourage and strengthen you as well. And
whether it's a men's group or whether it's a women's group or couples, it just depends. But you got to spend the extra time, and that walking through those. We've been in my men's group, golly, for 12, 13, 14 years. We meet here at 6 a.m. on Tuesdays, very early, but all of us are businessmen, and you're trying to get it in.
That's right. And that's so important, man. Is the goal of our church has never been we never judge success by the number of people in seats on Sunday morning. Right. Our success was always going to be based off of how many people are truly being discipled through a small group or some type of discipleship group, because anybody can draw a crowd, right? But that doesn't mean you're making followers of Christ.
That's right.
And so that's been a big thing for us from day one, is who are you in relationship with, that you're walking with, that's following Christ as well. So, It's huge.
Yeah, and it's just needed in our daily life to kind of walk through, and you've got people that you can depend on, and there's going to be seasons where we're down, and we need our brothers in Christ to pick us up.
That's it. You need the encouragement. You need the accountability. We all need people in our life that see things we don't see, the good and the bad. So we've all got blind spots, right? And we need people that can say, hey, I see this and you're about to walk off a cliff and you don't even know it. But we also need the people that can say, hey, like, I know you're doubting yourself in this area, but you got this, man. Like, I see this in you. I see more in you than what you're seeing. And both are needed, but we can't see everything ourselves. And that's why God puts other people in our life.
So touching base on the travel ball world, I mean, where do you think this is? Do you think that it's going to, everybody's separating in different teams and all these kind of things? I mean, where do you think this is headed? Is it always going to be this model of showing up every weekend? And, it's just, I can't crack the code, but something is severely flawed with it.
Well, where it gets really screwed up is the money game, right? There's so much of it that's about money. I get probably 4 or 5 emails a day.
Oh God, asking you about the all-star this
or
and this,
or come to this camp, or come to that camp, or come to this showcase.
You can come. You're invited for
showcase. Yeah, and you really, like, if you got a kid and if it's an invite only type thing, that's probably worth doing.
Right.
But if it's just a blast email, don't get duped into thinking you need to go to all those things, because honestly, a lot of these things become money grabs. I'm not going to call any by name, but a lot of these big organizations, it's about money.
It is, and I mean, your son is older than my crew, but it's like, I've told them I'll screenshot that they were invited to this all-star game, and I'll say, look, we're not going to pay this money, but they said you're an all-star, but also they said this kid that was hitting 100 on your team is also an all-star, so we got to, so I try to, because some of that stuff is like, all right, come on up to Atlanta, and you're part of the so-and-so major team, and you're like, how many other people got that invite?
And that's the thing. And too, man, if you even look at it, so when you go to these, whether it's perfect game, prep baseball, whatever it is, you play one game a day. And the reason is because there's limited field space.
Right.
But how many teams can you get there? And if you're running, say, a tournament that's got 15 and 16s or 15, 16, 17s, and you bring in a couple hundred teams for each age bracket,
and you drive 4 hours and you're from Statesboro and you're going up there, and it all seems like a lot. I'm trying to find the hybrid and trying to not play too much, but still challenge. You do want them to go. I mean, the main reason Grant's gone up and gotten to play in some fun tournaments and some very competitive, just to say, look, you might be pretty good in this space, but there's a lot of baseball dudes.
You need to see what's out there, and the biggest thing is, and we have loved our experience with Perfect Game. Like, we went to Hoover this year. Man, it was a great time. The team ended up finishing in the top 8 out of 100 invited teams that tournament. Ended up finishing in the top 8 at the WWBA, which is like the Wood Bat World Series.
And he's at the age right now that should heat up. I mean, here's my thing. And that, you got my kids' age, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yes, you want to see some, but nobody's saying, son, how did you do at 12 and 13?
You kind of pick your places for sure, man. And even at 15, like, man, he's a sophomore now. And what people don't realize is, from your sophomore to the summer after your junior year, that's a huge time for baseball. It doesn't make or break you necessarily, but it's getting to kind of into crunch time now.
100%.
And so, but even then, you want to pick the things you go to.
Right.
Like, if I went to everything, I mean, I'd have to get a second mortgage on my house.
The cost of it. That's another thing. How I told you it's broken. Like,
yeah.
Travel ball world, I mean, it is expensive to play in this world, and money's tight for people in general. I mean, and that's something that's, you get into marriages and finances, and that, I'm sure there's many arguments in that travel ball world of cost and how much are we playing and that kind of stuff as well.
And you look at it, and so, we've gotten to know the folks here in Georgia with prep baseball. So when I get an invite that I'm not sure about, I'll send it to the head of like prep baseball here in Georgia, or I'll send it to Reed's coach or whoever's over the program, Danny, who's over the program that he plays for. And I'm just like, is this something we need to do? And typically the answer is no. And
right.
So, but man, most of them I know this is just a blast email. But like you really do, you have to just pay attention to what it is. And
well, it's
and
one
pick
thing.
and
If
choose.
it's one thing too, is like you touched base on this. Like I've told all mine, like I'd love them to be busy. I'd love for them to go on to higher levels. But I had a big talk with Stella, and I said, look, she said, well, what if I got offered a college scholarship somewhere? I said, well, but what if I want to go to Georgia instead? I said, well, you have to love it. I said, if you go play college sports, that's amazing. I said, it ain't for me. I said, I'd rather you just go have fun at school unless you tell me you love it.
Absolutely.
If you love it, go chase it and go get it. And too many parents, I think, probably are, that's my boy out there. So you got to find the.
And and you have to set reasonable expectations, right? Of what are they capable of doing? Like, is my kid a legit D1
well, I think that's
player?
I think some of these parents, and we all want to think highly of our kids, but it's like, all right, he's 12.
Yeah.
Maybe he's not that tall, or maybe he is tall now, but you don't even know if he's going to keep growing. He might be done. Because there's those kids that are up here, and you're like, man, my kid could never catch him. So it's kind of trying to, and it's hard. Even if you end up being the best, it's so hard to get up to the highest level.
And you can see it even with Reed now. He's 15, sophomore. He'll be at 16 in November. Well, I'm going to some of these top 100, sophomore, super sophomore stuff, all these different things. You're seeing the best players in the state. In some cases, you're seeing the best players in the Southeast
region.
And then, in some of them, you're seeing the best players in the nation.
Right.
And not all of them are there, but I think the last thing he did, like, 2/3 of the top 50 players in his class were there.
Yeah.
So you've got quite a few
dudes.
You got some guys, man. And I'll tell you this, Georgia is loaded with baseball talent.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy. And so when you get there, it's like get them in something like that and then look.
Right.
And see. But even with him now, I can look and see kids who have come up and that you can tell they've kind of stopped. Right. They
and then it's still fine. You're going to be a good high school player, but it's like, I think as parents, if you're spending this travel ball money and all this stuff, you got to be careful to know that that may not be a good ending at the end.
Right.
You got to have that expectation.
And if it's about making memories and enjoying, like we had the funnest summer. Like if Reed never steps foot on a college baseball field, we had a summer that we'll never forget.
Priceless memories.
It was awesome.
You love it, and your fan, and it's got to be, both if you can help it. And the kid love it first, and then But there's nothing I'd rather do than watch him play on the weekends. It's awesome.
And we didn't even think, because he had fractured his back, like in football last year. Didn't know it was fractured.
Crazy.
And ended up playing the rest of the season with a fractured back, gets into baseball. It finally gets to be too much. We didn't think he was going to get to play at all this summer. And turn of events, man, it turned out that it had healed. And he got out there. I think he missed the first 2 tournaments with his team and got out there and got to play. And we just had a lot of fun, man.
Back at it. He's playing good?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, he got to play every tournament but the first 2.
That's great.
So it's been good, man. It's just been
fun. It's a good ride, and I think you just have to enjoy the ride and not have crazy expectations. And if your kid's lucky enough to keep going to a higher level, and it's just is what it is.
But
genetics.
If you don't just love the process, then don't do it.
Don't do it. Yeah.
Because I think I saw a thing the other day that 2.7% of high school baseball players ever played like Division I or something.
Look,
like
the
that.
main reason I put mine into sports is I want them to learn about teamwork, competitiveness, winning, losing. I mean, all those things, because I mean, there's a study out there for girls in particular. Girls that play sports they're leaders in their communities and business world, and they're not caught up in all the other worldly things and on the phone. They're not on the phones. They're not on Instagram and Facebook. They're playing a sport. They're getting better.
Well, and they're having to compete, and that teaches them grit, and it teaches them when you get knocked down, you can get back up again. It teaches them when they're running sprints and they think they can't take another step, they can take another step, and that pays off down the road in life.
Well, those high pressure, are you going to crack, or are you going when that base is loaded with,
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing, man, and this is something I try to guard my kids with, is don't let that become their identity. Because that's such a dangerous thing.
When it ends, right? I mean, you're too.
And then who are you? Right?
That's right.
And that happened with me.
It can happen with a lot of athletes. That's why having the foundation early and having your parents and it's one thing. Certain schools in our county, I mean, Bullock Academy, a Christian school, and some schools aren't allowed to do that. And coaches too can play such a pill. I'll never forget my rec coach, who I was with for like 4 or 5 years back in the day. There wasn't travel back in the day, but he was a Christian man, and that stuff sticks with you, praying with the team and that kind of stuff, and that sets the tone early.
Yeah, and just reinforcing to them, like, baseball is something you do; it's not who you are. Right. And so, I don't love you anymore if you hit a home run than if you strike out.
That's right.
When we leave, and I'll tell them, I'm like, play like your life depends on it when you're between the white lines, and when you step across them, remember it doesn't.
Flush it. Let it go.
It's done. And so, because at the end of the day, it's not your life, right?
That's right.
There's way more important things, and I think just trying to keep that in perspective. But again, we were talking about this before, but also I'm as competitive as they come, man.
I want to beat you.
Yeah, I remember we took my oldest son to his first, I guess it was a coach pitch or something, kind of team event, or as a game. And I asked him, I'm like, why isn't the scoreboard on? And they're like, we don't keep score. And I was like, why are we here?
Exactly.
Right? And so, and I get it, right? But I also think we've tilted a little bit too far the other way.
Watered down.
There's something to learning how to lose as well. And, and dealing with disappointment and dealing with
it's ultimately how you grow, dealing with the failures that are coming in your life. It doesn't all go like this.
No.
I mean, it is wavy, and that's sports. Golly, go hit a 92-mile-per-hour baseball. You gonna, even the best hitters.
It's challenging, and I think one of the biggest things is we spend so much time trying to protect our kids from adversity that we don't ever teach them how to go through it.
Right.
And life is adversity, man.
No doubt.
And so, they need to learn how to go through it instead of being guarded from it.
Yeah.
And I think sports is a good way for them to do that.
So, Brandon, let's touch base. So you had the entrepreneurship when you first started, because you were, which is now Chandler Roofing. You were in the roofing business. Yeah. You got into Connection Church, and now you're dipping your toes back into the entrepreneurial world. So touch base on why did you decide 180 Fitness, which is a gym that I love. I'm all about convenience. It's right there in the center of town, right on Fair Road on the way home. So boom, stop and get a workout. But tell us why that was a factor.
We just didn't have enough going to do,
Just wanted more.
Just wanted more. No, there are really 3 reasons that I would give for that. The first, and I'll give you a little backstory. So I've been going to 180 since it was actually Gold's Gym out on Highway 67.
That's a long time.
It's a long time.
Yeah, that's when I first got to Georgia Southern. That's where it was at.
Yeah, don't age me, Paul. I know you're young.
We're all getting older. I keep it real short so it doesn't show the grays, but the grays are coming.
Yeah, and I definitely have them. So I've been there forever. I got to know the owners back then. Got to know them better and better through the years. Just think the world of them, and have always cared about them a lot. And just in conversation, it came up that the one who owned it at the time, he was looking to sell it, and so we started that conversation. For me, it really comes down to like three things, honestly. The first one is it's another opportunity to help people, you know.
Well, I pictured, and I'll let you finish, I pictured you putting a bunch of faith, motivational, things. Yeah. And I don't know if you're going to go that way with it, but, that is. I mean, that's what I was kind of thinking you'd put it in there. I don't know.
Well, and maybe so. But, the thing that I really like to do is I would rather sort of build those relationships with people, man. That's what I'm looking forward to as much as anything, is just being able to be in there when I can, because I'm still at the church. I'm not going anywhere.
That's right.
But being able to build relationships, being able to help people. But like you said, like with the inspirational stuff, I read this the other day in a book I was reading. It was talking about encouragement. And it was talking about how the root word of encourage actually means to put courage into. And that's what I want to spend my life doing, right? I want to put courage into people. And so the tagline for 180 Fitness has always been turn your life around.
Right.
Well, what better tagline for faith or anything in life, right? And so my heart in it is to see people be able to turn their life around physically, mentally, and spiritually. That's really what it's all about, man. And
if you can click on all three, then you really, and a lot of people don't, they don't have it all three, sometimes fitness, and I go in waves, but you feel so much better as a person when you're in the gym, you're motivated, you're working out, then other stuff can flow good too. Because if you don't feel good about your body, the way you look, those things, then it kind of ripples.
It's all connected, right?
Yeah, it is.
And so being able to really help people and encourage people and make it a place that's really, really, really welcoming. It's something that we try to do with the church too. But if you think about two places that people get nervous walking into,
gym and church, you're right. Didn't think about that, but yes.
Yeah.
And that first day when you ain't lifted I don't even know what to do. I mean, my dad, he said, well, I don't know what to do. They all say that. I don't know what. Exactly. And people just need, look, it's not hard. Like, you ain't even got to lift a lot. Just go in there and do stuff,
Yeah, and so
consistency.
We met with all of the staff from Empower, which is part of it, 180 Statesboro, 180 Brooklet, last night, and I told him, I'm like, look, if you work at the front desk, you're no longer a front desk person. Like, you are a host. Like, you need to see that as your job is bigger and I asked him, I said, how many of y'all get nervous going to a new gym? And these are all people who work in the gym as either what I would call host or front desk people. They work, or they're instructors or they're trainers. And you've been surprised how many raise their hand that they get nervous going
even
to
being gym people.
This summer I went to a gym in Atlanta several times, and I was a little bit like trying to just feel it out.
Feel the vibe.
What's this place about? And then I asked them, I said, how many of you get nervous walking into church? And like every hand just about went up. And so I'm like, all right, well, think about that person who's walking into a gym for the first time, or walking into this gym.
It's a good point.
And I'm like, if you're up front, you're the front line.
Well, it's the face, right?
You're the one who's helping them feel comfortable.
Walk into Burger King and walk into Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
I mean, right? Exactly, I mean, Chick-fil-A is, so nice, pleasant. Not saying anything. I don't want to go and I'm just saying there's different. That's why Chick-fil-A kicks butt, is because of the way they conduct their business.
Right. And then, if you can start tearing down those walls when people walk through the doors, the same way at church, man. That's why we try to create a place where when people come in, they're greeted by somebody friendly. Right. Like, we don't want the person that looks like they just sucked on a lemon, like standing at the door, man.
I agree. I mean, that's the face. It's the face of, the brand of the company. It is. It's important.
And so really being able to help people, man, put courage into people. That person that looks at it and they think, man, I'm 60 pounds overweight. But you don't have to lose 60 pounds today.
Yeah.
Just show up today.
Show up.
And then tomorrow, just show up. And being able to put courage into people and saying, like, you can do, there's more in you than what you think there is.
And it's some, like, even for me, like, I'm a pretty motivated person, but like, there's days where, you'll go in there and you just won't lift that much, but showing up,
just
show up. And then that is the start of it.
And do your best. It's whether it's in faith, family, business, sports, do your best today. Your best today might be better than it was yesterday.
Right.
Your best today might not be as good as it was yesterday, but just do your best. That's all you can do. And then show up the next day and do your best. And I'll tell you this, when I was going through a lot of the mental health struggles and challenges that I've had in my life, man, that's what I tried to do. I'm like, look, there were days I felt like I couldn't get out of bed, but I'm like, I'm going to do my best today. I'm going to be faithful today.
Yeah.
And that might not be what it used to be, but that's all I can give. And I'm going to give what I have.
That's right.
And I think in anything, man, that's all you can expect is just give your best, And that's what I want for people is I just want to see people, physically, mentally, spiritually healthy. And I think this is another great opportunity.
I love it.
To intersect with people's lives.
Well, I think you have a heart that wants to motivate and help people. And that's all I want. I want to, and when you're blessed, not necessarily financially, but just blessed with a good family and you're healthy and a good body, like you want the same for people. Sure. You have a heart that wants to help people. Yeah. So I'm excited about it. But Brandon, man, it was awesome to catch up. Good. We got to do it again soon and talk more on faith, football, finances, all the things. But man, keep crushing it. Congrats on 180. And I'm just the Connection Church growth, all of it, man. Your story has been amazing and it's awesome.
It's been good, man. Thank you.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
it.